Greetings, everybody. I'm with my friend and meditator, Sara, who is a wonderful artist. We're in her studio in the outskirts of Brighton. And so we're going to have a chat about Sara's TM journey and story. Greetings, good morning.
Morning.
On a Monday.
So first thing Monday.
First thing Monday, yes, hardcore. So the way I normally do it is I go in a chronological way. It just seems easier.
Yeah.
And the point is to just have a chat about TM so that other people could hear your experience. Mm-hmm. Simple.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so when did you learn? How long have you been doing it? How long have you been practicing?
So I think I started during the pandemic, so it was maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years maybe. I mean, I started with you, so that was that was when I started. So if you can remember, I reckon it was about 3 years ago. Okay. But I'd sort of tried meditation before that, maybe 3 years ago again before that. But I kind of, it was at a point in my life where I felt like there was a lot going on in personal life and I felt a bit kind of emotionally discombobulated. So I was looking for something and I kind of was drawn to meditation. Kind of, I felt like I knew that would help, but not just in that, but in a general sense. So I started going to my local Buddhist center and getting involved in the meditations there. But when I tried to do it at home, I just couldn't do it, like not even for 5 minutes. My crazy mind would just not let me do it. And I just thought, I can't do this. I just can't do it. So I gave it up. And then like a couple of years later, some friends were talking about Transcendental meditation. And I kind of thought, this sounds a bit different, and I was intrigued enough to kind of find out more, and then I Googled, in Brighton, and you popped up. So then, I listened to you talking about it, and I thought, I'm intrigued enough to try this. So that's when I started doing TM, and it was like a complete game changer. Just the mantra, the fact that there's a mantra, I felt like it gives your crazy mind just something to fiddle with, and allowed me to kind of stay in the meditation space for like 20 minutes, which I would have thought was impossible. And I do it every day, like at least once a day now, regular, and I can do
here in this studio.
Usually I arrive in the studio, and that's the first thing I do, because I feel like it kind of centers me into the present. And allows me to, like when I'm painting, it sort of, I need to get into a real focus state. I suppose what you'd call like flow state, or, what people call it is like that. And doing meditation helps me get there quicker.
When you were at the Buddhist center, and you, was it easy to, did you say that it was easy to meditate at the center, but when you got home it was impossible?
I wouldn't say I found it easy at the center, but like I was there in a room, which kind of, either you get up and leave in the middle of it or you stay. So I wouldn't say I felt that it was easy, but just by nature of being there, I did it. But it wasn't something that I could translate to continuing my own practice.
What type of meditation was it? What were you supposed to do?
This is a while ago now, so I have to remember. But they would sort of there would be a talk about a particular subject beforehand, and then I think they would start the meditation kind of talking about that. Then there'd be some silence. Uh-huh. And then you'd just be in silence for however much length of time, and then, bring you out of it.
Oh, I see. So they would lead you into doing nothing.
Yeah.
And then take you out of doing nothing. Okay. Yeah. And the difference with TM is that you have something to do.
The mantra.
Yeah,
it made all the difference to me anyway.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. So it was a game changer because it helped you kind of settle your crazy mind.
Yeah.
Was that just during the meditation, or did it percolate into life?
Definitely percolated into life.
How?
I mean, that's
How?
one of the big advantages of doing it, I think, the big benefits. Like, I feel like, sometimes, in life, your mind suddenly takes hold of some thoughts, and you can feel like you're in like a storm. Like, if you imagine in the stormy sea being like tumbled around and battered. And I feel like TM has allowed me to kind of just sort of zoom out slightly, so you're just like looking at the thing rather than being completely battered around by it, which obviously is a lot sort of more peaceful and calmer. And I feel like it's kind of it's training that default pathway instead of just staying in this tumultuous thought process. You can kind of like it's a different perspective. It's like that's just thoughts, and you can sort of apart a little bit from that.
And that's in general life.
In life, yeah.
General life. Interesting. And how long did it take for that to happen?
It was kind of gradual. I'm not really aware of how long it took, because I feel like it's been a gradual process,
right.
And just the kind of cumulative effect of having a regular practice just kind of makes this bigger and stronger.
And you generally meditate just once a day?
Yeah, sometimes twice, but not very often. Usually once.
And interesting. And you're still functioning this in the same way as you were, because if I hear that it could be seen that you're kind of aloof from life and detached.
No, not at all.
But it's not like that.
It's definitely not like that.
Can you describe it?
So I guess this particular thing is just a changing relationship with your thoughts, and so sort of having a greater awareness that your thoughts are just your thoughts, they're not necessarily true, and it doesn't mean that I'm not connected to life or I'm not present. It just means that I have greater understanding about my inner critic, my inner crazy mind, which is really helpful.
So the capacity to think and assess and judge and interpret is still there, but you're not hijacked by it. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say that.
Interesting, because I sometimes like to try and explain it to people and say that because the mind, a lot of people think sometimes if their thoughts are troublesome, that they think the way out is to not think.
Okay.
Right? So they come to meditate and they try to not think.
Yeah.
But I maintain, and it's the same as you, that thoughts aren't the problem. It's that they're the master.
It's not the thoughts that are the problem. It's your relationship.
Yeah, it's your relationship
to them,
to the thoughts.
I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like you disassociate or check out or become unconscious. You just have a different relationship.
Yeah.
I would say, to your thoughts.
Yeah. Did you find, when you first learnt, did you find it easy to get into a daily habit, or did it require discipline?
I'd say that, like, at first there were a few times where, for whatever reason, like, your life gets busy, so you drop it for a minute, but like, I always wanted to go back to it, which, in the past when I wasn't doing TM, I would have just dropped it forever. So I always came back to it, and now it's become so much of just a habit, like brushing your teeth or something, that like I don't really think about not doing it. It's just like, okay, yeah, when I'm doing it now.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. And So when you first learned, what kind of headspace were you in? Were you a bit chaotic mind? Is that what drew you to seeking it?
So that's what drew me to meditation in the very beginning when I was doing the Buddhist Meditation Center. But when I started doing TM, I think I was just in a normal state of chaotic mind. Isn't everyone always struggling with that? It wasn't anything particularly unusual. I think it was just
baseline chaos.
Baseline chaos, exactly. I think it was just I started then just for the fact that my friends had been talking about it, and that was kind of the prompt to kind of, I always knew that I wanted to meditate somehow, but I hadn't found a way. And then, my friends mentioned this, and I thought maybe this is the way.
Okay. You found the right one eventually.
Yeah.
The best. Yeah. The one and only.
Let the right one in.
Yeah. And, okay, so it sounds like you've described, overall a shift in your relationship with thinking. And how about your work? Has it affected how you work and the output and work related? Any changes?
So, as I mentioned, it kind of helps me get into that focus state where you're just like in the present. You're not worrying about future deadlines or past podcasts that you did, it's that state of like just getting out of your own way and just being connected to something deeper. Which I think is why I was drawn to painting, to be honest. In the first date, I knew that was kind of really essential to me, and really necessary, and that's when I started painting. I'm completely self-taught, so yeah, it helps to get to that state. And I'd also say, like, sometimes, if I've got a lot of work to do for a particular thing, I can start to get like anxious and overwhelmed thinking about how much I've got to do, and it kind of just brings that down and gets that in perspective a bit, so I'm not stressing about stuff that I've got to do.
Right. What does it feel like to do the meditation for you?
So I feel like every meditation has got its own kind of flavor, and I don't kind of judge each one, because I'm really aware of like I said, the cumulative effect that it has on your life. So it's sort of not important what happens during each. The important thing is the regular thing. Just do it, to be sitting down and doing it. But having said that, so sometimes really interesting things happen during the meditation. Like sometimes there's just like a mental moment of clarity about something, whether it's like self-awareness or something in my work, or like a problem I've been stressing over for ages and haven't found a solution. It's like the clouds will clear and this sort of deeper truth will just reveal itself. And it's just like, okay. I mean, that in itself is worth doing it for, because it's almost like your stupid conscious mind like just sits quiet for a minute, and then something a deeper wisdom kind of is allowed through. So that happens sometimes.
That's really cool. It's like the gatekeeper steps out of the way.
Exactly that. Like, I really think so. And sometimes it can be like calming. So sometimes, like, if my mind is particularly busy, it can feel like my thoughts are just thrashing around, like maybe for the first 19 minutes, and then it kind of like calms, and then you've just got this sort of calm, you're shored up to this kind of calm place that you absolutely didn't start at. So it's sort of good for that. It's just very different each time. Sometimes it gives like I've had an experience where it's given me kind of a weird perspective on like time. Like suddenly I've kind of felt really connected to like ancient past and far future, and kind of feeling like I'm just in this brief moment in like the arc of time. And then like, what a gift that we've been giving this amazing just brief moment of consciousness in, you know, in the whole of time. We're just here for this small moment, and then that can give you a better perspective on your stupid daily struggles.
Right. You get it? Yeah. That's cool. If you had a friend or someone you knew who was either they were interested in TM or they hadn't heard of it, but you felt that it could be good for them. So you don't want to force them, you know, you don't want to be all preachy, but what might you say to them to sort of what's the word? Prod them. Entice them or prod them into learning.
Well, it's like you've got
nothing
to lose and everything to gain. And like, I just feel like there's been so many benefits and gains that, you know, I would just wish that forever, you know, for that other person. And it's a new thing. Like, try it. It's life is short. Just try it.
Did you have any reservations or doubts before you learnt?
No, not really. It was like it was an unfamiliar new experience, and I just wanted to see. It was like, I guess, spirit of curiosity. Just, you know, I didn't have any expectations. I didn't know but like, I was curious enough to find out and investigate.
Brilliant. Okay, and if you could sum up your experience with TM in 5 words, not a sentence, but just like 5 nouns or adjectives to describe your...
Well, I'd say pretty kind of life-changing in terms of changing my relationship, like with my thoughts, as I said, helping me focus, giving me clarity, and just feeling like I'm in a calmer space in the world where it's all okay.
What I would like to do is ask you to tell me how you got into doing the art and why you do this. So I've always kind of been, you know, doing a bit of drawing, but I'd never really taken myself seriously. And at the time, I was working in fashion as a shoe designer, and I was working in a job, and I just got to the point where, like, I loved design and shoe design, but it wasn't enough. It's a product at the end of the day, and it can be beautiful, but it wasn't enough. And I just felt compelled to start painting, because it's like it's an expression of something, and that's when I felt compelled to start painting. And I'm completely self-taught. I just, in my kitchen, kind of, you know, paint everywhere, and gradually sort of started exploring what I wanted to express. And it's quite interesting. Like, I knew immediately that I was only interested in the face, because, you know, now I realize that I'm interested in communication, and that's where all your character and your personality are communicated. And quite quickly, actually, I decided to just isolate the mouth, because I found that to be really expressive just in itself. And also, the mouth is like a focal point for so much. It's intrinsic to life. You know, we communicate with our mouth, whether through speech or expressions, you know, all our kind of emotions. But also you breathe, you eat, and, you know, also kissing, another type of connection and communication. It's just kind of a focal point for so much that
it was interesting. When I did my first exhibition, I'd met another artist near where I live, and we just did a DIY exhibition together. And this was the first time my paintings had left my kitchen. So it was very, it was nerve-wracking. And people were fascinated by the mouths that I'd done, and I sold all of them on the first night. And that was really interesting to me, I think, because what I was doing was a communication with the world. People were kind of receiving that communication and connecting with it. So it made me want to explore further this subject. And that's what I've been doing since, for maybe 10 years, maybe a bit more.
Behind you, we can see a couple of pieces that you're getting ready for a show in London
I have an
December.
Exhibition at the end of November coming up at Grove Gallery in London, and the theme of the exhibition is the colour red, and I'm sort of exploring that partly through my usual subject of the mouth, but also another couple of things, I've like, since I started painting, red is the colour that I've always been drawn to most. And, you know, everything's always covered in red paint. But I didn't really know why. But now I've sort of, I've started investigating the colour red. And I realised what a special, significant colour it is. Like, culturally, all the different cultural meanings, the different meanings in nature, but also physiologically. Because, like, it happens to be the colour with the longest wavelength of all the visible spectrum to us, which means that, like, it appears closer than it actually is, and it kind of hits you first. So it has the consequence of actually raising your heart rate and exciting your subconscious. So that's why it's kind of associated with drama and danger and all these things. It's a very special colour.
What's the process? We'll show some of these, but what's the process behind making this? Obviously, it's now August and your show is November, so it's obviously a long term. Yeah. Why does it take so long?
So the process begins with a photo shoot. There's just me and the subject.
So these are real people's lips?
They're all based on real people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get the subject into my studio, and I'll do the makeup. I do very specific lighting, and then it's just me behind the camera and the person in front, and we'll have this sort of interaction, and I'll take lots and lots, maybe like thousands of shots of this person kind of expressing different things, and those images will kind of form the inspiration as the starting point for the painting. And my aim is to sort of capture the expression of that person. Sometimes I do commissions of people. Like I'm doing an exhibition in September actually, which is with the English National Opera, and I was given a subject from the English National Opera. I got given Benson Wilson, who's a baritone singer, and I was sort of invited to make a piece based on him, like capturing him. So I thought, what better than a mouth portrait, because he's a singer. So I had him come into my studio, and I photographed him while he was singing opera in my studio, and that's what I based the piece on.
These are all going to be plain, or you've mentioned the crystals. So tell us about the crystals.
So a couple of pieces, probably just one piece at this point, is going to be completely covered in crystals, because I love to explore light reflection. That's.
Would that be the heart one that I can show the heart? The heart one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I often use diamond dust and glitter and gloss and all these things, but I also use neon. So I'm going to have a couple of neon pieces in the show as well.
Is that like a spray?
No, it's actual real neon.
What is neon then?
Neon light.
Yeah, but what is it? What is neon? Is it
It's
I
a
know
gas.
what a neon.
It's a gas.
Oh, it's a gas.
Yeah. So basically, you have like a glass
Have
tube.
you got any here? Can we inhale it?
I'm afraid not.
Does it make you high?
I don't know actually. Like, if I had a tube, you could break it and inhale it. But,
It might kill me.
yeah. So it's like a neon tube. This is like the old school neon. It's like a neon tube, and it's filled with neon gas, and it has electrodes either end. And when the electricity goes through it, it lights up the gas. It's magic. It's like magic. It lights up the neon red.
Oh my God, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Can I come to the show?
Yeah. So basically what happens is I'll make a painting, and then I will like attach, like for example, if I was going to do it with this painting, I would put like a neon outline which kind of gets attached and sits kind of to the front of the artwork.
Gotcha.
And it kind of it does feel like magic actually, because when you turn it on, the light kind of transforms the painting, so it kind of changes the color of the painting. So you don't know how it's going to be until you put the neon on and switch it on.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay, I think that's all. That's fantastic.